Hello, everybody. I hope you've been well. I'm so sorry about last week's mix up. I really thought I had uploaded it and it was fine. But I went yesterday and it was still in draft mode. I'm sorry about that. And I hope the lighting today will be better. You never know until afterwards. That's when you start editing. On the phone, when you look at it, it looks okay. But when you have it now in front of you, then you realize, no, this lighting is off. So I'm hoping this will be better. Autumn, our sun has shifted and I still only have one room to use, which only has windows in certain places. So I'm sorry for that in advance. I hope though that despite the imperfections, the perfect word of God will have an impact on us and strengthen those who have started this way, encourage those who think it is too difficult by discussing people who do live it. All right. So here we go, chapter 53. Unitedly and prayerfully, the father and mother should bear the grave responsibility of guiding their children aright. Unitedly and prayerfully. I keep saying unfortunately because it is unfortunate. We could say sadly. Some begin already not united. So they can't even unite in prayer. Some others become ununited, disunited, separated as the years go by, so they no longer are united and in prayer. But the way it should be is you should marry someone who has the same principles as you, and you both should allow God to keep working in you so that you continue on the same path, united. Then you can be prayerfully on the same page as you bear this grave responsibility. Having a child isn't about dressing up a little princess girl or, finding the best corduroy pants and making your little baby boy look smart or cool. It's a heavy responsibility. You're raising another human for God. But many parents work at cross purposes, and thus the children are spoiled by mismanagement. They're not united. Then they become spoiled by mismanagement. Have you ever thought of that? That you are your children's managers? If at work you have two managers, but they give you very different, what's it called? Not jobs, but they give you instructions that are very different for the same project. How will that work then? You won't know what to do. It sometimes happens that of the mother and father, one is too indulgent and the other too severe. This difference works against good results in the formation of the characters of their children. No harsh force is to be exercised in carrying out reforms, but at the same time, no weak indulgence must be shown. The mother is not to seek to blind the eyes of the father to the faults of the children. Neither is she to influence them to do those things which the father has forbidden them to do. Not one seed of doubt should the mother plant in her children's minds. There is this, what's it called? Not common, but there is a meme that tells you that don't feel like your children are interrupting you from your work, because your children are your work. So that is how it is indeed. Let us continue. It sometimes happens that of the mother and the father, one is too indulgent and the other too severe. Okay, let's go fast forward a bit. The mother is not to seek to blind the eyes of the father to the faults of the children. Neither is she to influence them to do those things which the father has forbidden them to do. That's where I was. That's where I'd ended. All right. This is something I grew up living. This is how my parents were. My dad would be the strict, harsh one. I'll whip things into you. Not godly things, but anyway, I'll whip it into you. My mother was also harsh, but when it came to religion, my mother was extremely indulgent. She's the one who would crack jokes in the middle of a prayer, or in the middle of like our evening worship. She's the one who'd be giggling while we're praying and mumbling things, like whispering things underneath her. She was not really a good example for us children. And I remember this one time at our school. You see, this is the problem. When we send our children out to get instruction from the world, they have to live according to the world. And so the world has Saturday fates. That's what we used to call them, FETES, with a little, in Afrikaans they call it the kapi over the first E, a fete, like a fair mini kind of fair kind of thing on the school grounds. There were sports days on Sabbaths, and of course I felt like I was missing out. Like, oh, church, not God. Church is getting in the way of my Saturday that I would be doing with my friends. Now I'm being seen as not part of the group. The Muslims are different because they still go on Saturdays. And everyone respects Muslims, but Seventh-day Adventists are not known. So it was like I'm just being difficult. That's how I viewed it when I was a child in junior school. And this particular day, my mother decided to collude with my father's son, firstborn son, whose daughter was also attending the school that I was in, our junior school. And behind my father's back, she got him to come and pick me up so that we could go and break the Sabbath together at our school's fun day. You can imagine, my father was, of course, livid. He thought I was going to just go spending the weekend with my brother. But he should have known, because my brother wasn't going to church anymore. So he was extremely upset. And it really was bad, because when you're a child, you are drawn to the unholy things. They are more fun. And so now the one seems like the unfun parent and the other one seems like the cool parent. Another time she bought us dresses. They had necklaces sewn onto them. And even I said, I don't think Dad will like this. And she said, no, I'll talk to him about it. We could have bought any other kind of dress. We didn't need the one that has fake necklaces or jewelry on the dress. So, of course, my father saw them, and of course, he did not like them. So he cut off the necklaces from the dresses. And then they had a big fight. We need to work together, parents. You really help in leading your children astray. But thank God, when they are of age, they need to make their own decisions. God will hold them responsible for what they do when they're adults, especially. Yes, we parents will have a part. But ultimately, it's what the children do with the knowledge they have that will determine their outcome. And I sought more knowledge than what was being given at home. And I'm thankful that I've got a mind that works so that I can find more knowledge, because in the truth is peace. So please allow the one who is more serious to be more serious, even if you disagree. You married them for a reason. Respect goes both ways, as we've learned. So respect the more serious one. Not supporting them when they're being harsh and forceful, but support their principles, I beg you. Not one seed of doubt should the mother plant in her children's minds in regard to the wisdom of the father's management. I never comment about choices. I tell my husband later that that was actually not very nice. Or if my child says, my heart is sore, then I'll say, oh, shame, I'm sorry, Dad, please apologize. You know that. But otherwise, it's all private. It's all private. I'll just stop there. If fathers and mothers are at variance, one working against the other to counteract each other's influence, the family will be in a demoralized condition, and neither the father nor the mother will receive the respect and confidence that are essential to a well-governed family. Working together is the best way for your children to respect you as a pair, as parents. Children are quick to discern anything that will cast a reflection upon the rules and regulation of a household, especially those regulations that restrict their actions. So, I'm adding the so. The father and mother should unite in disciplining their children. Each should bear a share of the responsibility, acknowledging themselves under solemn obligations to God to train up their offspring in such a way as to secure to them, as far as possible, good physical health and well-developed characters. So that nonsense of wait till your father is back, it needs to stop. We are both meant to discipline. If they don't listen to you, you can then wait for your husband to reiterate what you said. But don't just leave it and then say, I'll wait for your father to come back and then he will sort you out. That puts dad in the position of being the enforcer, not the lover of children. So stop that. And we must all agree, and this is why it needs to begin with our principles being the same. If your principles are the same, you won't work against each other naturally anyway, because you always act and live up to the light that you both have. Imagine a situation where you both got married and you both believed in, modest dressing, and then somewhere along the line, you've been teaching modest dressing, your children have been hearing you, seeing you, then suddenly you stop dressing modestly. Dad. And suddenly he's in shorts, and suddenly he's in sleeveless tops, and he's in muscle tops, and he's in skinny jeans. How will that impact the children? What a confused message that will give them. It won't give them well-developed characters if they're seeing the one who's now becoming proud of their muscles and all of that, the silly stuff we see online these days. It won't help them. This is a responsibility that we have to give our children the best, not only physically, but in character. And God needs humble parents to make humble children. Articles of dress or some other indulgence is granted by the mother with the understanding that the father is to know nothing about it, for he would reprove for these things. Here, a lesson of deception is effectually taught the children. And you know what Jesus said about anyone who dares to offend a child or to lead them astray? They might as well just commit suicide. Then, if the father discovers these wrongs, excuses are made and but half the truth told. The mother is not open-hearted. Mine wasn't. She said there were no other dresses there, but I knew there were. She does not consider, as she should, that the father has the same interest in the children as herself, and that he should not be kept ignorant of the wrongs or besetments that ought to be corrected in them while young. On the other hand, you have one parent who will tell the other parent that this and this and this has happened during the day while you were gone, or something will be done, and both parents will know, but the other will always keep quiet and never address the wrong. That too is a form of deception. You are basically countenancing the wrong. By silence, you are condoning the wrong. The children know the lack of union in their parents, and it has its effect. The children begin young to cover up, to deceive, tell things in a different light from what they are to their mother as well as their father. Exaggeration becomes habit, and blunt falsehoods come to be told with but little conviction or reproof of conscience. They become so used to lying that it just falls off their tongue, and they don't even realize they're lying anymore. It just becomes part of who they are. Conscience gone, dead. And it is a grave disservice to do this. I've seen families where the lying becomes worse and worse and becomes stealing from father and mother. So children need us to be a good example. The father and mother should never in the presence of their children criticize each other's plans and judgment. If the mother is inexperienced in the knowledge of God, she should reason from cause to effect, finding out whether her discipline is of a nature to increase the difficulties of the father as he labors for the salvation of the children. Am I following the way of the Lord? This should be the all-important question. Sadly, though, we are in Laodicea, so the way of the church is mostly not the way of the Lord. There will be one who wants to look good in the eyes of the church, but forget the eyes of the Lord. Then there'll be the other one who wants to look good in the eyes of the Lord, which, like Jesus, is not very good looking to the eyes of the church, like the Jews, the leaders who hated Jesus, tried to stone him, sacrificed him, crucified him, in that sense. So there is a problem there as well. They might both be Sabbath keepers, but be unequally yoked, which we have discussed in the past. Now, the difference is this one is inexperienced in the knowledge of the Lord. So there is innocence in her part. So if she thinks, that's a bit strict, and she knows, but I haven't read as much as my husband has, then she should keep quiet and go and read, rather than disagreeing. Go and study and see, oh, I understand now. She can find the word of the Lord here. Unfortunately, or sadly, some do know, but they live fully, purposefully, against the principles. Anyway, let's continue. So this is what you need to do. Stop fighting in front of your children. You are damaging them. If parents do not agree, let them absent themselves from the presence of their children until an understanding can be arrived at. Sometimes I disagree with something and I'll just keep quiet. But in a way that says that, okay, I'm not so sure about that, but I'll keep quiet. But yeah, please, some of you grab your spouses. Some of you tell them off when they don't need to be told off, not scolded in front of children. We need to keep respecting each other in front of our children as the parents of the children. The children will learn from us to disrespect the parent. The father who is with his children but little and is ignorant of their peculiarities of disposition and temperament is harsh and severe. This is so well seen. I mean, I don't join just normal groups of mothers. There's no just, well, maybe there are just mothers groups, but then they're not Christian. Anyway, so my point is, I join mostly groups that are of special needs children. So we're parenting special needs children, and this is very common, where only the mother is studying what each of these neurological issues does to the child's behavior, whereas the father is just focusing on the behavior without realizing or not acknowledging that the child's brain is dysfunctional, disordered, and cannot behave as he wants it to behave. And so they become harsh and severe. It's very common that it's the father who is like this. There are very few fathers, but they're there, thankfully, who are aware of what the disorder means. And also, generally now I can generalize, there are very few fathers who acknowledge that my child's brain is still forming. I need to step back. They can't reason yet like I can. They're not adults. He does not control his temper, but corrects in passion. The child knows this, and instead of being subdued, the punishment fills him with anger. Righteous indignation when you've been mistreated. That's how the child feels. The mother allows misdemeanors to pass at one time, for which she will severely punish at another. That's how I was raised. The children never know just what to expect, and are tempted to see how far they can transgress with impunity. Thus are sown seeds of evil that do, I added the do, spring up and bear fruit. Parenting is a grave issue. Parenting needs a lot of prayer and self-introspection. And in the same way, we are meant to help each other to decide if we should be even getting married. We should be helping each other to decide if we are ready to be fathers or mothers. But we don't. And I know people who don't want to be told that if you were parenting like you were being a friend, I feel sorry for those children that you'll have, because they'll be abused. Emotional abuse is real. And In the same way, most of us don't listen when those who know the word tell you that you shouldn't marry Miss X or Mr. B. Most of us won't listen when we're told you should not ever become a mother. It's tough. It's tough. All we can do is just teach the truth and pray that the Holy Spirit will speak to others as He has spoken to us. If He can open our eyes, we can just pray and pray that all the hearts of our loved ones will also be open so that Jesus may enter, convert them or stop them from becoming parents. The Father, okay, so if parents are united in this work of discipline, the child will understand what is required of him. But if the father, by word or look, shows that he does not approve of the discipline the mother gives, if he feels that she is too strict and thinks that he must make up for the harshness by petting and indulgence, the child will be ruined. We cannot have an imbalance. The best balance is both parents being balanced. He will soon learn that he can do as he pleases. Parents who commit this sin against their children are accountable for the ruin of their souls. If you know to do right and you do it not, to him it is accounted sin, iniquity. How we parent will either chase us into the arms of God when He comes back, or chase us away to the father of lies. We need to be extremely intentional about how we partner in parenting. The angels look with intense interest upon every family to see how the children are treated by parents, guardians, or friends. This is a line I forget about. I know my children have angels watching them. I know I have angels watching me, but I never think my children have angels watching how my husband or I treat the children, how we are disciplining them. I focus more on the angels are watching if I'm praying enough, if I'm doing something more internal than how I'm parenting them. More like the chores that I have to do. Am I teaching well? Okay, the angels are making sure that I'm remembering to always use Jesus in our school curriculum, but never how am I speaking to the children. So now, not now we know, I'm sure many of you know already, but think about that as well. Each time you consider being harsh, remember there's an angel watching you. And each time you overcome your temper, if you've got one, the angels are applauding you. The father casts reflections upon the mother and leads the children to hold in disrespect the mother's tenderness and affection for the little ones. The mother thinks she is compelled to give large affection to the children, to gratify and indulge them, because she thinks the father is harsh and impatient, and she must work to counteract the influence of his severity. Don't give way too much. Still be the firm and loving parent you are. Still understand their children, but do require them to obey you. Just because dad is harsh doesn't mean you have to now give them no discipline at all. Let them become ill-disciplined. You need to still keep up the discipline, but mingle it with love. You are leading by example. Even if dad's example is too much, you need to show them what is right, what is correct. And they'll only learn that from you if dad is too harsh. Only you can be the guiding light. So be the guiding light. Don't just stop to make up for the darkness that the Father brings. Affection cannot be lasting, even in the home circle, unless there is a conformity of the will and disposition to the will of God. That is so. Family cannot keep feeling affectionate towards each other if there is not any longer a unity, a conformity to the will of God. Like, every young lady, I want to fall in love with a godly man. But when the man becomes godless, then one of the reasons, or the main reasons she fell in love with him, is gone. Then she's just got any man in her house, not the love of her life. In the same way, it will be in our parenting and our families. If the father and mother, in the love and fear of God, unite their interests to have authority in the home, they will see the necessity of much prayer, much sober reflection. Where did we go wrong here? What can we do about this aspect of our child's misbehaving? How can we make sure they get closer to God? What activities can we suggest? And as they seek God, their eyes will be opened to see heavenly messengers present to protect them in answer to their prayer of faith. They will overcome the weaknesses of their character and go on unto perfection, which is the goal of every Christian, perfection. Father and mother, bind your hearts in closest, happiest union. Do not grow apart, but bind yourselves more closely to each other. Then you are prepared to bind your children's hearts to you by the silken cord of love. Keep sowing the seed for time and eternity. All heaven is watching the efforts of the Christian parent. She gave earlier on that very well-known example, it was well-known in my days, of the wheel, that as the spokes of the wheel come closer to the middle, which is meant to be Jesus, then they come closer to each other. And that is where we end as well. As we parents come closer and closer to God, His light, His way, His truth, the closer we will become. And then we will be actually united. We will not be able to grow apart because we're growing this way, more and more, closer and closer and closer, more together. So we need to keep sowing seed for time and eternity. Our children will only learn to keep or obey John 14 verse 15 if we too remember, if you love me, keep my commandments.